Morning, traders. Welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen before I pass it along to Beth, Mama's Options. So this is Spartan here by speaking, by the way. Once I'm done talking, Beth will come on. She'll be going through the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of the evening, as well as this morning that makes sense to be looking at, as well as any of the bigger picture items, ETFs, commodities, etc. Once that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through some names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, as well as go through the SPY and the FANG. Once that's done, South Beach will come on, go through the macro environment as well, talk about any analyst calls that he's looking at for today, as well as individual names, and then do a quick little recap of those names that I spoke about this morning, and we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. Beth, it's all yours.
Thank you, my friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Pre-market here at Spartan Trading. Wednesday, quarter end, right? As well as long holiday weekend coming here, as well as Canada Day tomorrow for our Canadian friends. It's an interesting time, right? And we have to start talking about risk reward setups, where the risk reward is now starting to skew not so much as a whole on the upside, but on the downside. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And it's starting to formulate in my mind, mainly because of the price action yesterday, the amount of low floats that Spartan was doing. Now, when he's doing low floats, that's telling me that that's where retail money's going. We have some window dressing with stock buying and, for the quarter end, but we're getting close here where we have to start saying, we got to take some chips off the table. We have to raise, roll up and out in trailing stops and raising cash, because the reality still is we're leaving the sweet spot in terms of direction and going to get into a sloppy choppy into the fall, right? API crude stocks, this continues to come in, which is going to continue to be a very strong tailwind right now for oil. It feels like we're going to get an oil spike, and a lot of that is supply issues, and we'll see how that whittles down. We haven't had the breakout yet in the West Texas, but just keep that in the back of your mind, okay? Industrial production's out of Japan, way softer than expected, as well as month over month and year over year. And then we have the manufacturing PMI out of China as expected, and then a little bit softer, okay? Unemployment rate harmonized, 3.7, wow, versus 4.4, okay? Didn't expect that, right? Change, minus 38, and then increase in terms of the rate itself, 5.9. To be honest with you, for those of you who've been doing this quite some time, there's literally no way that the federal government releases unemployment numbers unless they're good before a long weekend. I mean, the optics is just pretty damn bad, so don't expect that to happen. Just saying, okay? Inflation rates, softer from the EA, and then we do have mortgage rates, applications, and then pending home sales, Chicago PMI. So some economic data, but not lots. Oh my goodness gracious! And then we have the EIA numbers as well. Okay, we'll keep an eye on this Tankin. It is important out of Japan, and then the Caixin PMI with China overnight. All right. Very, 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 very light on the earnings side. It will start to pick up next week. Okay, in July, you can see that we're going to start to get a little bit more versus 7. Okay, and 14 today, and then starting next week, it starts to be in the hundreds, mid hundreds. It's still light, but we're going to start getting interesting. Upgrade on Micron, upgrade on AMD. You don't do an upgrade before earnings, right? Unless something's going to happen here. Just saying, it just doesn't happen, but by an analyst. But what do I know? It's just one of those things. We've been talking about this for quite some time. Well, since Israel sounded the alarm, right, a week and a half ago about the Delta variant, the question is going to be is pockets, like the Northeast corridor is well vaccinated, and then you go out west, there's pockets of vaccination as well. It's going to be the pockets that are not vaccinated or don't have a high vaccination rate. That's going to be a problem. The question is going to be is whether you're reactive or proactive. The proactivity comes with the vaccination, right? The reactivity comes with, mask mandates in terms of indoors and stuff like that. Israel put back, they had lifted, but they put back on the indoor mask mandate. It's going to be state by state, city by city. Well, you know the drill, right? Is it important? Yeah, it's going to be important only in the sense of supply chain and in terms of consumption, stuff like that. But I don't think ever, as a whole, we're really going to get on an economic side issues until the fall. But look at the bonds. I mean, the bonds are telling us something. I can tell you from firsthand, these contact tracers are fantastic. They do a great job. I know that when my family and myself had COVID, it was very scary, but they were on top of it. They were reaching out to us constantly, as well as from the city level, town level. And this is an important thing. This is how they contain things. Mad shout out to contact tracers, right? Okay, Europe wants to stop it. Too late, sorry. Moving on. If you're interested, there's all kinds of CDC puts out in terms of percentages, in terms of, as you can see here, Northeast is top, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Then you have the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, New Hampshire, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other side, you have more rural areas, right? Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, a lot of them are red states. And a lot of it is just getting people to get vaccinated. Some of it's just the, the policies, whatever. Doesn't matter. Missouri is finding out firsthand that, you can't be lackadaisical in some areas. June reports, yield curve, inflation, yada, yada, yada. It should be a good number. I can't imagine it not being a good number. Waning. The yields are coming down, which has been amazing when you think about, oh my God, this inflation, commodities, et cetera. And what happened was the smart money front ran it in the beginning of the year, right? And now they're satisfied with where we are in terms of the yield curve-ish, as well as the rates, though. And we'll keep an eye on that one as well. This is kind of interesting article about front running with Cirrus, Skyworks with the chips, Qorvo, but you have to be very specific in terms, because don't forget Apple's manufacturing their own chips, right? But these are the radio chip companies. This Qorvo I do like. We'll see how it plays out. I normally don't do that. I actually am starting to do a delta trade on Apple for October. I don't have anything short dated right now. So everything's 2023. So I'm looking to do something like that. I have literally no idea what's going to happen today in terms of the market as a whole. It should get a little bit of a pop. I don't think it's going to be a big up or down day. It shouldn't, but individual tickers will have their own buying and selling for quarter end, and a lot of business has probably already been done. Okay. Top dog. Don't mess with this guy from BMO, Ambush. Okay. 80% success rate. 18.2% average return. He upgraded Micron. This Kohu, yesterday I mentioned it, it was sweeping, and not sweeping, it was getting multiple prints on the volume that we're looking at. That's been very successful so far in terms of capturing what's going on in the retail side with our peeps. I find that fascinating. But it was yesterday, the initiation. So, it's fun to see where the money flows go. Especially the retail is here to stay. I don't care what anybody says, it's here to stay. Sand had a lot of put sweeps, a lot of selling, and now they're saying at this levels it's a buy. Let's see what our gal's up to. I'm so excited. I'm waiting for that ARKB. Is that what it is? ARKB, I think is what she's calling it. Bitcoin, cryptos. A little bit of selling. She's always selling Fluorescent, but that's in her Israeli fund as well, and she's been doing it forever and a day, and it's so illiquid. It's sad, but that's the way it is. And she, the drill on path, she's all in on that high ends as well. not much. I mean, let's not forget, we do have the long weekend coming, so a lot of people will be heading out very soon. Yesterday, sloppy choppy, right? That's okay. It was green. It was really the most robust green. Right? Healthcare was up a little bit. Discretionary was down. Skyworks, right? It's up nicely. Corvo, right? Hello. And this is what happens when these, names are put out there. Morgan Stanley, right? Xilinx, AMD, a lot of the chip makers. Alerts already this morning from last night. ET, keep an eye on this ET, guys. The reason why I say that is I haven't seen it get this much in a while. And this is that hype equity that we're using as a guidance to see where flows are. Mara was on it, Hymex, right? Etsy, ET, Cleveland Cliffs color. I didn't see any go on the color side. I didn't see anything going on in terms of on the calls. So that was kind of interesting. And then, here's the other thing that we like to look at in terms of volume. Space continues. I was basically in puts most of yesterday on space. I didn't swing it. I'll be looking for puts again on it. Well, keep an eye on that. I'm actually, I'm having a lot of fun on this thing. It's kind of fun to do what we're doing. And then, I do my little pre-market stuff I like to see. Yesterday, these were the new on the list: X, Sophie, Tilray, Sundial, and Space, right? The list is kind of trimming down a bit. And then we've got AMD Neo. This is this morning. Obviously, a lot of it's come in. We'll see how it picks up. But Workhorse, this X continues. We did do a trade on it just because of the flows. Just, that's how you do it. Okay, yesterday. Continues to be call versus puts. We did see the VIX, right? And the VXN start to creep higher. So, and we've talked about the divergence there. It is telling us that volatility probably should start coming back. Does that mean we're going to have a large decline in the market? I don't know about that, but we could have like a 3 to 5% pullback. I mean, all of these pullbacks that we've had have been pretty mute. I would be really surprised if it's more than a 5%, but you never know. I mean, they can take an individual stock and basically yank it, 30, 40% if they want to. And that's what they have been doing. And that's where we get these risk on value trades, is with these names that are higher beta who get taken to the woodshed, right? And then that's where you look to basically buy these sorts of things. We did see a lot of money coming into at the end of the day with these EDU, Tall, GoTo, et cetera, but mainly it was EDU and Tall. I want to see on the Chinese side continue buying. And we are going to talk, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive, right, on some of these names, Baba and Baidu and stuff. Surprisingly enough, Baidu has not broken out against Baba, so we'll take a peek at that as well. Right. I like the fact that these are leaps, some of these. So this one's a leap right here, and that was 3.8 million, so almost 4 million that went through were leaps on it, so that's a good thing. This is March, and this is January, 270s, 310s. All right. Let's take a look now at some negative stuff that we have to be aware of. So this is the S&P. The breadth is a little bit concerning, right, in terms of the technicals, with less than 50% above the 50-day moving average. This goes back to 1929, and then this is this has been printing since June 24th, June 28th, so multiple days. And as you can see, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months out, it is negative. This is 80% 1 month out. So this is all about tilting the risk reward. The risk reward slowly is becoming on the downside, not the upside, but I'm not looking for a huge decline. 3 to 6 months out, you can see it's up, and then 1 year out, 67% down. Okay. So these are just things we have to look at historically, right? Half year for both stocks and commodities. This is a negative though, and I'll show you what's going to happen here. This is in the 70s. This happened, with the oil crisis of the 70s. This is actually bearish short term. And then even if you go longer term, you can see a 50%. That's not a good stat, right? 50% 1 month out, 67% down. Okay. You know me, I like 80+%, 75%. So that's a big red flag for me. If you look at the commodities as well, it's 100% 1 month out, 100% probability, okay, that the commodities will be down 3.2%, and 100% 2 months out, 5.2%. If you take that information on the commodity pullback, and we saw that with lumber and all this stuff, okay, that trickling into the system, how does that do that? Then we get the D word, the deflationary, stagflationary word, which is not something we want to talk about. Even if you go farther out, you can see 6 months out, 75%. But the sweet spot is 1 to 2 months out on the commodity side. So please be aware of that. What does that mean for the S&P? Once again, it's fairly sloppy, choppy to negative. 3 to 6 months out, then you got start to get the tailwind. But these are all the things that add together on the risk reward side, right? And it's just something that we have to be aware of. And I want to show the sectors 1 to 1 month out, pretty much a sea of red. Except if you look in terms of energy, it's okay. Okay, so energy going out does fine. Financials, for the most part, does fine, but everything else is sloppy, choppy. And then you can see down here sectors, same thing, sloppy, choppy 1 to 1 month out, and then you go 2 months out, then you get the sea of green going in. Small caps is one of the safer places. Once again, what Spartan was starting to do yesterday, the low floats, the smaller caps. Okay, that's something we have to keep an eye on, right? And then we get back into that sort of narrative that's not overall bullish for the market as a whole. Okay, heat map, GLD, and this is going to be getting down into the single digits, guys. I haven't added on yet. I will add on. We talked about, one of my peeps is talking about an intermediate cycle low. Notable SMH, all of these, natural gas is starting to get up there. We're in some natural gas trades on the swing side. Swing portfolio in the other room. I just have trailing stops on it. Okay, the Qs are in the 70s. I know clean ICLN. We did see in the morning yesterday the solar, and then it rolled over. Typical solar, stuff. That's what it likes to do. Still a fine heat map for us. Flows really not much. A little bit into the SPY, not much coming out. I want to see what the monthly is going to look like. To see what the flows as a whole look like. That's going to be interesting, I think. For our Elliott Wave peeps, Avi Gilbert, the best of breed, he's actually not sure, okay, whether this is the small 3 or whether we have to go down. He's leaning towards us going down before we start up, just so you know. Okay. On the micro side, I don't care. Spartan's going to shout it out. I am starting to put hedges on. SDS, QID, SDAO, stuff like that, small, just accumulating a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Just because I think, once again, the risk is on the downside right now. I'll watch the VXN, see if it reclaims our infamous 21. If it does, and yeah, and this has kind of been telling us that there's a little bit of hesitancy and a little bit of protection going on, and that's okay. Bang. Weekly, I'm a little concerned, and the concern is I think this gap gets filled. I think we're going to pull back down, and as a whole, that's not a lot. It's only 1.33%. And even if we do get a more meaningful pullback, I mean, once again, we're only talking about 3%. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It could turn into something special, but for now, I don't. Yields are down across the board, 30-10-5-2. Canada yields are down over in Europe, same thing, as we get more and more from the variant, right? We're going to start to see more and more of that. Japan flat, Australia, Hong Kong, yields are down. So what I'm talking about right here in terms of front loading, the institutions basically have been selling off some of their holdings, right? And then now we're in this consolidated pattern. And this consolidated pattern, I wouldn't be just shocked to see it actually last until 2022. That's not to say that the Fed can't do something, but if we start to see the variant take hold, don't forget they have been incredibly patient in terms of erring on the side of caution. If we start to see more and more of the variant taking hold in certain pockets and expanding, then I can tell you right now that they can talk as much as they want. They're not going to do a damn thing in terms of, why would they do the mortgage backs first when we're starting to see some issues on the mortgage side? I don't know. Anyways, 5-year coming off, smack dab in the middle. I don't see us breaking out one way or the other. 0.97, and then this is a big range, guys, for the 5-year, and that's the sweet spot in terms of what's going on. Wouldn't it be a kick in the ass though if it did break down? I mean, you know, it's fascinating to see how the market as a whole say, oh, okay, everybody was wrong with the FOMC, and now we're looking at, you know, here's the 210. The yield curve's going to be fine. I don't think we go anywhere with it. 510, we still have to look at it. This is the most important thing, guys, in terms of the market right now is the yield curve in terms of these interest rates globally, how this is playing out. Same thing in Germany. When this massive range, it's not going anywhere. But as you can see, the yield is starting to come down again, negative more. We couldn't take out this double top to allow us to start to make the next leg up. Here's the gilt consolidator, right? Multiple weeks. This has been going on since, for the most part, better part of the year. See that continuing on. China does what China wants to do. They're basically bringing their rates down. Right? Okay, here's the dollar. It's a little bit sloppy choppy, down and up all around. I do not want to see a strong dollar, guys, and it is starting to strengthen. That's actually a negative, and that's a headwind for this market as well if the dollar starts to break out on the upside. All right, EEM. Let's take a peek here. Monthly. Oy. Basically, we have this downtrend line. It will, as you can see, it's a triangle, right? We'll see how this breaks. It didn't break out, which is a big bugaboo, okay? And we have to keep an eye on that. EFA still holding up, but if we do break this uptrend line, I will be buying some EFA puts. Shanghai Composite double top, starting to head down a little bit. Let's take a peek here at the A shares. Double top pulling down. This is heavily loaded on the bank side. This is the MSCI, and this is used a lot in terms of investing over in China. But as stated, Meituan, it's really heavily weighted on the banking side. KWeb, we started to see some sweeps in that yesterday, so that's notable. We're still in a range, and we have to remember that we're still in a range. This KWeb, Baba, Tencent, top dogs, right? And for the most part, most of these ETFs are top dogs with that. Baidu, W, breaking out. We don't want to see it fall back below the mid, but this is the Baba Baidu. All right, so we want this actually to break down, and that means that Baidu will be outperforming Baba. Okay, I don't have much on for Baba. It's Baidu is what I'm in. And that would be a nice little tailwind for Baidu. And here you can see Baba, this is the weekly. You can see this extension. It's crazy. Look at this candle on this thing. It just can't get through it. It's fascinating to see this. This is a red flag, okay? Until we break that in this downtrend line, guys, this is the top end of the range of Baba. And I actually may buy some Baba puts as a hedge against my Baidu, just so you know. My time is up. Once again, welcome to those of you joining us pre-market here on our live YouTube stream, as well as our members. It's a pleasure as always. It's now time for me to pass it on to Spartan. Are you ready, sir?
I just need 1 minute here, Beth.
Not a problem. You know me, I can talk. All right, here we go. Commodities. Gold continues to go down. We are working on ICL on gold. Just be aware of that. All right. Silver is up. Interesting, right? Platinum, palladium, yada, yada, yada. Crude is up. Those were crazy. That was a crazy draw. We continue to get crazy draws on the stockpile, so we got to keep an eye on that. And then you can see here, sloppy choppy all over the place, lumber down again, right? And don't forget, with this lumber, it doesn't filter into the system until the fall, and I don't even know if they're going to pass on the builders because they're in such a hole with these lumber prices. Here's the CRB. Keep an eye on this. It will be crude that gets us going on that. Crude continues to push. I still see, you know, I shouted out back down here that mid 70s, 80s. I'm thinking, we're going to get to 100 on this. I mean, if you look at this, guys, this is just a fantastically massive W on the monthly. I mean, look at this. Whoop, whoop. We take this out. That's the 75.27, right? We're creeping up to this. We got some serious room. And I think we enter this quadrant and we go and we rally to the top end of this quadrant. And that's going to be a supply and demand, especially as we go into the summer months with travel and stuff. Here's the US oil. This is the West Texas. It still has not broken out yet. I want to see this break out. I really do. I have a really nice size position on the USO. And I'm still in my XLE. As you can see, some of this is coming back. I want to see some sweeps starting to come back in on the refiner side. And if it does, then I'll post it. And I will probably be following some of these. My XLE position is longer term because this is a longer term swing for me. And I don't have any individual names on, okay? If I start to see like an Oxy, Halliburton, something like that, you know, sweeping, then I will post it and I will follow those. Those are very, very good, especially on the Oxy side when I get multiple prints on that. Here's our USO still hanging in there. 49.46 is our pivot, still above it. Let's see if we can continue to go higher here. This is the first red flag though. I want to see this USO break and hold. This is a monthly, right? So I want to see it close out strong. And then 49.46, 48.16. This is one of those things you just let it do its thing. And if it does close below it, then I will buy some USO puts. Bitcoin, what do you make? Okay. All right, down a little bit here. We're in a huge range, okay? And this is almost the mid of the range. And you can see here that this is the, 50 on the weekly. I have no interest, when it gets down here, I'll buy some, but for the most part, I'm very light on this, mainly because we have to break out, right? And Ethereum's my thing. I know that Kramer likes Ethereum as well. And you can see here, we have to keep looking at the discount to net asset value. I actually, and this is kind of interesting, guys, with this NAV, this was a huge divergence because it didn't actually, the last pullback we had, it didn't come in. So I actually want to see that come down and I would see a little bit more of a flush. Ethereum still holding, is reclaim and holding this, but I don't think it does. I think it rolls over again. Same thing, I want to see this discount to net asset value as well start to come down. It needs to, as far as I'm concerned. And it's important because—
Hi, Beth, I'm ready to come on.
All right, my friends, have fun.
All right, guys, morning, what's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. There we go. So if you guys are new to chat, make sure to click the Discord link that was emailed to you. If you don't see it, it's going to be in your junk mailbox. Otherwise, we'll go through the stuff to do when you guys do come in once we do close down the YouTube stream later on. So we'll talk about that at the end of the morning session. Let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things: MDB, mRNA, CVAC, RAPX, VTNR, OCUP. So MDB announces offering of 2.3 million shares of common stock. Stock's gapping down on that. A lot of offerings today, by the way. mRNA pushing on continuation due to positive COVID-19 data, as well as authorization for emergency use of vaccine in India yesterday. It's gapping up pretty much on continuation. CVAC CureVac announces appointment of Dr. Malte as Chief Operating Officer. Stocks gapping up on that. RAPX, Riley Exploration, Permian shares are trading lower after the company announced a common stock offering. Price was not disclosed. VTNR, Vertex Energy shares are trading higher after the company announced an agreement to divest its used motor oil collection and recycling assets for $140 million. Then OCUP basically announced Vega 1 phase 2 trial in, it meets primary and secondary endpoints. So stocks gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two, MDB and mRNA. MDB, mRNA, let's take a look. Excuse me. All right, MDB. See what we got going on the daily here. So gapping down around the 361 area. Okay. Let's take a look at this thing intraday here. All righty. So pivot to the downside today, guys, is going to be that 367.82 level, which is the EMA support on the daily. This level is unable to hold to get room towards 358.73. That breaks 352.42 will be tested on the downside. Able to hold, sorry, the pivot. Look for a push back towards 377.09 to 385.28 on the upside. Going to be leaning bearish neutral at the gate, looking for a little bit more of a pull this morning. I do think we can see some basing along support after it does pull back a little bit. And then I think we'll probably see a curl off the one of the support levels on intraday. So we'll see what happens there, but going to be leaning bearish neutral out the gate. So that is MDB. Let's take a look at mRNA. Stock's gapping up on a little bit of continuation here at all-time highs. Do a couple fibs on this thing as well. Yes, okay. Now let's quickly look at this intraday here. $243, $250. That makes life easy. Okay. All right. So pivot to the upside today is going to be 238.49. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation towards 243.02. That level breaks. We can see 250 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 233.98 to 228.74 on the downside. Overall on mRNA, I'm actually going to be leaning on a little bit on the bearish neutral side, looking for a pop topping out the gate for it to come in a little bit. Why? Because it will be extended on the daily to the upside today. So I think it can pull back a little bit after a morning push. So that's what I'll be looking for on MDB and mRNA. Let's take a look at the next two names. Take a screenshot of this. All right. Next two, CVAC, REPX. Okay. That's good. All right, pivot to the upside today, 69.33. Sorry, 69.63. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation towards $73. Whoa, to $73. That level breaks. We can see further continuation towards 77.96. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 64.24 to 61 on the downside. Going to be leaning bullish on CVAC to the upside today if the pivot point can hold. We are into the gap. Nice little crawl to the upside. News is decent. And I think we can get continuation to fill the gap. It's done a pretty good job of holding this gap area as well. So quite impressed with that. So that is CVAC. Let's take a look at REPX, which is quite a big pullback after the offering here. It has been on one heck of a run though. The larger range name, pivot point, support. All right, 3084 guys, pivot to the downside today on REPX. Unable to hold towards 27.97 to 24.64. Able to hold 331 to 36.09 will be tested on the upside. Overall on REPX, going to be leaning bearish out the gate. Looking for continuation lower, and then I do think we can see some basing at a lower end level. Again, pretty big move to the downside, but a lot of weakness on the daily chart. So I do think that continues today. So that is CVAC, that is REPX. All right, let's take a look at the next two, VTNR and OCUP. So this is obviously a former runner. Okay, let's take a look at this thing today then. Above that 16.98, it was $19. Okay, so 14.13 guys, pivot to the upside today on this VTNR. Levels able to hold to get room towards 16.98. I'm actually going to do this just because I think it's a little bit too far out the top level and the bottom level. We'll do the pre-market range as well. No, to the upside, that is. So 14.15, Pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. Room towards 1552 to 1698. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback towards 1121 to 933 on the downside. And then overall on the VTNR, we'll be leaning bullish out the gate, looking for a continuation higher. We'll see if it can break through that top end resistance for continuation. Pivot's going to be the main thing. That's going to be key. We need to hold that for continuation higher, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking at today. And then OCUP, let's take a look at this. So phase 2, positive primary and secondary end results. Stock's been basically beaten down. There we go. Oops, should be a little bit lower. Excuse me. All right, so 635 guys, pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 768 to 853. Level resistance from this morning. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 523 to the 442 on the downside. Overall on OCUP, going to be leaning on the bearish side today. Bearish neutral. Looking for a pop, topping out this gate this morning. And then a little bit of a pullback. So that's VTNR. That's OCUP. Let's take a screenshot of these two and let's move on to the SPY and the FANG. All righty. SPY and the FANG. All right, so SPY, and I'm actually going to pop this up here, make this a little bit bigger. So we can see the daily chart. All right, so what's going on with the SPY, guys? On the daily, where it looks a little bit extended to the upside yesterday. We've since then filled the gap, actually, this morning. We pretty much right into it, the pre-market. It's going to be the same levels as yesterday. So 427.41 pivot. Levels able to hold. You get room towards 427.95 to 428.73. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 426.65 to the 425.92 level on the downside. Overall on the SPY, going to be leaning bullish. Neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. So I'll be looking for a hold of that pivot point for continuation higher. That's the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. So Apple, nice little push to the upside, ready to test this range breakout area to the upside around the 137 area. So pivot on the upside today is going to be this 135.87. That level is able to hold. We got room for a continuation towards the 137.63. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 134.57 on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Looking for a continuation push into that upper end resistance level, and then we'll see what happens if we can get through it or not. All right, let's take a look at Amazon. So we got a little bit of a flag setting up on the daily chart. Pivot to the upside today is going to be this 345.55 level. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation higher towards 34.84 to 35.14. Unable to hold 34.31 to 33.94 will be tested on the downside, leading bullish neutral on Amazon. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Daily chart set up, in my opinion, for a continuation higher on that flag. Just needs to break back above that pivot point. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot to the upside today. 534.38 levels able to hold. We're towards 537.30 to 541.40 on the upside. Unable to hold. 521.74 will be tested, and I am leaning bullish on Netflix, looking for a continuation push higher. It's done a very good job of holding an extension on the daily for 3 days, and I think we can get another leg up. Bullish consolidation on that extension, so that is a good look. All right, let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook pivot to the upside is going to be that 350.49 level. Level's able to hold. You got room towards 350.489 to 358.13. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on Facebook. Whoa. Into the 346.91 level on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. So another FANG name that looks pretty good. Filled the extension gap yesterday, held up fine. See if we can hold up again and push to the upside. Google. Let's take a look at that. So Google still consolidating here. 24.52 level is able to hold to get room towards 24.63 to, if that level is unable to hold, 24.34 will be tested. Leaning bullish neutral, looking for a retest of that upper end resistance. We'll see if we can break through. But, it's just pretty much consolidating on the daily still here to the upside. Typically what Google does, stair steps, consolidation pushes, right? So it makes it a little bit more difficult to trade because it's hard to time when it's going to break out. But it is what it is in that regard. All right, let's take a look at the VIX. So VIX, this is something that I use for direction on the market every single day, in conjunction with the SPY chart, of course. 1659 is your pivot. Level's able to hold. You got room towards 1752. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback on the VIX towards 1551 on the downside. Pretty much it's held that 1551 range the last week and change. So if it does pull into that area, we'll watch for strong support. Right now, though, we do have EMA resistance on the daily that it's testing to the upside. And if it is able to break it, probably have a 50 EMA magnet on the upside. So keep an eye on the VIX. It may make sense to throw on a hedge if it continues to hold the pivot. At the gate this morning, so we'll see what happens there. So that's VIX. Let's take a look at the Qs. QQQ. All right, 355.35 pivot level is able to hold. You got room towards 357.02 level on the upside. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback into the 353.86 on the downside. Overall, on the Q is going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. So continued grind if we can break through that pivot point, 355.35. And then last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the IWM. Okay. So IWM is actually gapping below EMA support on the daily, which is quite bearish. So pivot to the upside today, or downside, I should be, is 22941. So 229.41. That level is unable to hold. You do have room for continuation towards 227.92 to the 226.42. Able to hold. We look for a pullback or push back to 230.33 to 232.39 on the upside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side of the IWM for now. May push back this morning to retest the pivot, but if it's unable to do so, get back through it, reclaim it, we should see continuation lower. So we'll see what happens there. That is IWM. So that's the SPY, that's the FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to South Beach for a little bit while I type out the pre-market action plan. Then we'll do a quick little recap before the open. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Hey guys, good morning. Okay, let's see what we got this morning on hump day. Okay, so 10-year, US 10-year, 146.02, down 0.02. Okay, so we're at this kind of the middle-ish of the range, been trending a little bit lower recently. All right. That's kind of setting up what we do, what's going on here. If you noticed yesterday, for argument's sake, the bonds were up, up to like 150, 1.50 in the morning, and they sold off during the day. And I just shorted banks and made some decent money at like 2 o'clock. So you got to keep an eye on these bonds. It's really important. The 10-year in Britain is minus 0.72. Down again in Germany. They're minus 0.19. So you see, vaccine, they're having issues with the virus and that Delta variant. I don't know if the governments there are inept, or it's the Delta variant that just is different than everything else, or a combination of both. I just don't know, but I think it's basically, very much affecting group rotation, and I'll get into that in a minute. So that's the bond market. Okay, so you see, let's just see if the curve is changing, just out of curiosity. Curve is pretty flat. These the bank stocks, they have their work cut out for them at the moment, it seems. They had all the good news priced in, right? They were able to do the buybacks, increase the dividend, all that other stuff. So a lot of good news is priced into these things as far as I'm concerned. Let's look at the commodities. We have oil up. This is just a phenomenal bull move in oil. I mean, just look at these charts. They're incredible. It's up another buck today. Gold, I don't care. Copper's 430, so staying in the range. No really change there. You see, remember lumber was up at 1,700, guys, and I said the average price for the last few years is 300, and it was at 1,200 at the time. Now it's back to 750. Probably goes back to 6.5, something like that. So anyway, this short supply of lumbers seems to be disappearing. And as far as the agricultural commodities, they're a little lower across the board as a general overview. Currency-wise, dollar mixed against North America, against Asia, pretty flat, down against China, up against Japan. China 6.45, kind of in the middle of the recent range, and the euro's kind of sticking around at 118, okay? So that's that. Let's look at crypto. So we got Bitcoin down 3%, and we've got Ethereum down 3% as well. They had a good couple of days, so not surprising there. I am long Ethereum, FYI, bought it a few days ago. And let's look at the foreign markets. So we have the FTSE down 33, which is 0.5%, DAX down 132, which is 0.85. And over in Asia, flat Nikkei, China up 0.5%, Hong Kong down 0.5%. Okay, so that's what we have. So I think this these bonds and this new Delta variant are providing some support for tech stocks and semiconductor stocks, kind of like a little reminiscent of the beginning of the rally after March, how they took these things, and the stocks that need GDP growth have been kind of struggling a little bit lately. Cyclical stocks, bank stocks, insurance, stuff like that. That's where I went to yesterday afternoon and shorted that group. But it's really funny because you don't have a lot of follow through in this group rotation lately. So at the end of the day, I just take off the positions. That's it, and start fresh the next day. And it's been working pretty well. So I'm going to keep doing that until it stops working. So that's that. Fed, they had Bostic this morning talking about I think he said was 7 million jobs short of where we were pre-COVID, or 10 million jobs. I think I wrote down 10 million. I thought he said 7, but somewhere between 7 and 10. So we have a long way to go, which means the Fed is not going to put on the brakes so quickly. I think they'll probably get rid of that mortgage bond buying and keep the other thing going. We'll see. And I think they want to see how this Delta variant works out before they do anything rash. So that's Bostic. And in China, right, these Chinese stocks for the first time in a while have been outperforming the market. 9 to 10 million. Thanks, Florida. These Chinese stocks have, outperformed recently. You've seen massive call buying, right? Especially in these education stocks, which are really in the crapper. I have some call spreads in these things. I have some calls in Baidu as well. And I have that call spread in JD. So I'm in Chinese stocks. I don't care for them. But you know what? The tape tells the story, and they've been looking better on the charts. So we'll see what happens with that. But it seems as though they're okay. And you have that big offering today from DD. We'll talk about that in a minute. Crypto we discussed. Oil we talked about. The virus is the Delta variant. That's what it's all about. And rolling out these vaccines. The dollar we've discussed. And let's discuss Mr. Market. Okay, from yesterday, what did we have? Okay, so what was strong? We had high PE tech, China, semis, and FANG. Okay, and on the short side, you had banks, machineries, hotel, airlines, cyclicals, etc. So you had, the companies that need GDP growth on the sell side, and these companies that have inherent growth in their business model, basically on the long side. Okay, does that continue today? I think it does. I don't see any reason it wouldn't. The bonds are kind of indicating that, you know, things aren't picking up so quickly. So I would think that that trend is the trend to continue. Okay, you have Micron has earnings to what, tonight? So we'll see what happens with that one. What else came out today that was significant? Numbers wise, you had what, POWW was decent, BBBY was okay, STZ and Schnitzer were all okay. On the negative side, you had this General Mills and AVIV. What else today? You saw the CUEN news. They have this Wi-Fi 6. Basically, you know, you take your cell phone, you bounce it off a satellite, you get a good signal. If that works, that would be positive for those guys. And you saw VTRN sold the business for 140 million. They have a 479 million market cap, and they're taking that one up as well. And that's that. Let's look at the research, see what we have here. Okay, APP was a double downgrade at Morgan Stanley, outperformed to a sell. They think everything is priced in, basically. Okay, they have a 68 target, stocks 83. Okay, so that's one thing. I'll talk about the IPOs in 1 second, but Morgan Stanley. So that's a double downgrade out of that. And Kramer was humping it, what, a few days ago, maybe 3, 4, 5 days ago. So that's probably what got it going. Space, Bank America downgrades this one from a buy to a sell. They have a 41 target, and they say competition is a coming. So that's Space. They downgraded USX. FDS, they reiterate the sell, but they raised the target. That's a red flag not to be involved. Intel reiterate neutral, target 60 at Citibank. They're saying this new flagship product they're coming out with is being delayed by a quarter. I'm sure that's not good news. What else? Goldman reiterates the sell in FDS. That's another guy who doesn't like it. They keep the target about the same. So they have a 274 target, stocks 335. I don't remember ever trading this name, but who knows? Pulte Home was downgraded, but they reduced the target to 62. They think home builders are range bound. Okay, you saw mortgage applications were down what, 17% or so this month. I don't know if it's a lack of inventory or what, but that's some hot market, you know. MTN, Toll, reiterate the sell and Toll. This is Goldman, reduced the target to 55, and MTN, they reduced the target to 110. So they're not big proponents of the home builders, but the guy is not an axe in the name. Okay, the Goldman analyst is not considered to be that great an analyst, so be careful with that. C-Day downgrade, growth rate lower than peers out of Barclays. AUDC, equal weight to sell. They think they have a problem with their gross margins are under pressure, and so that's that one. Okay, reiterate the buy in Tesla, but they think there's going to be lower deliveries this quarter. That's at a Deutsche Bank. Stock's a monster, so I don't care what they say. And I think that's it on the short side. Okay. Let's look at the long side. Okay. UBS likes this Capri. I think they reported yesterday. Did they? They must have. Yeah, they reported yesterday. They have a target, which is kind of weird, of $90 on this thing. I don't know where they're coming up with this. Maybe it's a typo, but it doesn't seem to be. 82 to 90. So they like it a lot. I don't know. It looks like it could break out here. So that's something to keep an eye on. Okay, so that's Capri. Foot Locker was talked about on by Morgan Stanley, Kimberly Greenberg. She's okay. So they own 10 to 20%. I don't know how come it's 10 to 20%. You know, pick a number. That's a big spread of this thing called GOAT. I don't know. They sell sneakers online or something like that. It's valued at like $4 billion. So she doesn't, it's like trying to steal second with one foot on first. She has a neutral on the stock with a target 65, and she has a bull case of 96 to 100. So I don't really, not clear what she's saying, except she doesn't want to be wrong. But I didn't know they own 10 to 20% of this GOAT. So that's money that I didn't know they had. So that's good to know. And there was another oh, here it is. Cowan likes Dick's a lot. They raised the target from 132 to 147. They've done channel checks, et cetera, et cetera. So if I were, I would put those two on my market mind, the Capri and the Dick's. And LB I like a lot because that's Matt Boss's favorite. So I have that one in the investment account. And that's my exposure to that space. You see this ALT is down a bunch today. I bought stock today after reading the research. Maybe I'm out of my mind, but I think the fact that they are not pursuing this COVID drug anymore is actually a positive. Okay, they'll stop wasting money. They say they have some good drugs in the pipeline. And to me, that's a positive. Okay, first of all, how are they going to match Moderna and Pfizer's vaccine, Novavax? And the BNTX. Okay, these guys have like 94% success or whatever it is, and be done, move on. And they have some other drugs. So I bought a little of this one. I want to see how it acts. I kind of think it's a good idea. We have targets in this thing up to 35. Let me see. The targets were really high, and you have the Baker brothers in the stock, right? So let's see. A Guggenheim has a $42 target. Wainwright 25, JMP 31. I mean, at $10 or whatever, I'll take a shot. I think that's an okay thing to own. So that's what I did. You guys do what you want, but that's what I did. Carnival Cruise, Argus likes it. I just don't think, I think they have so much debt. I don't know how they can make money, to be honest. Facebook, Argus takes the target up to 410. BTIG likes this Capri. They have an 85 target. So this is worth watching. Okay. So you got one guy 85 target, one guy 92 target, stock's 54. I'm going to keep an eye on this one for sure. All right. So that's interesting to me. Here's another guy 69 target at a Citibank. I don't know. They're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. So I'm going to watch. Maybe one of them can be right. Anything else on the long side that I thought was worthwhile? Let's see. OCN, that spinoff from Merck. I'm long this one in the investment account. Initiate buy, target 36, stocks 29. That's from Deutsche Bank. I don't know. I just like spinoffs. I think the odds of making money are high, or have been historically. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Any other things worth a damn here? Not really. Oh, Truist likes crowd. They raised the target from 250 to 300. Okay, so that one's okay as well. And RBC initiates plug, outperform target 42. Kramer had this guy, Larry Williams, has been right, a technical guy. He thinks the market isn't going to stop. He's bullish on the market, and Kramer likes Baidu and Baba. Not in that order. That he likes Baba and then Baidu, and so that's that. Let me see. Okay, so you want to know about IPOs? Let's look at them. Fire King. There were 9 IPOs today. Okay, and I don't know, like 6 or 7 secondaries. And tomorrow there are 7 IPOs and 8 secondaries. So like You know that the syndicate business is sucking liquidity out of the market in a pretty big way. So here are the ones that set up the best, in my opinion. Okay, which one did you ask about? Centalone? Oh, Centennial one. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the ones that look decent. All right, this CVRX. It's kind of like a device company, minimally invasive devices. 7 million at 18 above the range. JP Morgan, that one's decent. That'll open higher. You got this DD, which is the Uber of China, priced at 14, top of the range. 316 million shares, so it's a big deal. Okay, this Integral Ad Science, 15 million at 18, digital ad verification. It's above the range. It's Morgan Stanley, so that one should be okay as well. This INTA, no good. LegalZoom, priced above the range. JP Morgan, this one should open up as well. Then you have the Centennial one, which probably this, I don't know how DD is going to be, but probably sets up the best, Fire King. It was raised twice, 26 to 29, then 31 to 32, priced at 35. Automated cybersecurity threat detection. It's in the right space. It's got the right underwriter, Morgan Stanley. The demand is high, so yeah, I think it's good. I think it's going to open up at a pretty good premium. Let's see how it acts. I think that one's good though. I think you picked the right one. XMTR, online marketplace for on-demand manufacturing. YOU, another one priced at the high end of the range. So by and large, these things are priced pretty well. There is demand for them. 4 secondaries. The one I'm going to watch is this one out of Think KRBP. The NTLA was priced at 145, and you see why the stock was trading up yesterday, right? Because the demand for this thing was so heavy. When a biotech does a secondary, and you know why they're using the money, in this case, they had success with that phase 1 deal, it's always a positive. Okay, the fact that they're raising money is a positive, not a negative, because you know what they're using the money for, and they've got a good place to put it. All right, so that's that. All right, so I'm out of time. So I'm going to give it back to Spartan. What's ticker is S? Yes, just like the old Sears. Okay, all right, I'm out of time, guys. I'm going to give it back to Spartan. Let's have a great day. Spartan, it's all yours, bud.
All right, thank you, South Beach. Guys, what's going on? Morning. Let's take a look at what we got going on today. If you guys are new to the chat, the Discord link is emailed to you. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but make sure to check your email. Click on the link there. If you don't see it, it's in your junk mail, simply put. So you can just check that out. Now, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Quick little recap this morning. So pre-market action plan is posted. If you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you can simply just pause it and read it if you would like. There's all the charts posted as well. And then on the option side, we have the exact same thing, but for options, for the names that we talked about this morning. So SPY, FANG, yada, yada. Okay. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch. A couple different things. MDB, mRNA, CVAC, RAPX, VTNR, OCUP. MDB announces offering of 2.3 million shares of common stock. Stock's gapping down. mRNA pushing on continuation due to positive COVID-19 vaccine data, as well as that emergency authorization from India yesterday. So a little bit of a gap up in continuation. CVAC announces appointment of Dr. Malte to lead accelerated development of the RNA printer. Stocks gapping up on that. RAPX, Riley Exploration Permian shares are trading lower after the company announced common stock offering, gapping down. VTNR, Vertex Energy announces that they had an agreement to divest its used motor oil collection and recycling assets for $140 million. Stocks gapping up on that. And then OCUP had positive phase 2. Primary and secondary endpoints gapping up. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two we're going to be looking at, guys, MDB, mRNA. MDB 367.82 pivot. List levels unable to hold. Room towards 358.73 to 352.42. Able to hold. Look for a pushback to 377.09 to 385.28 on the upside. Overall on MDB, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. Let's take a look at mRNA. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 238.49 level. Levels able to hold 243.02 to 250. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on mRNA to 233.98 to 228.74 on the downside. Overall on mRNA, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a pop topping to take the stock short. Let's take a look at CVAC. Let's take a look at REPX. CVAC pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be the 69.63 level. Levels able to hold 73 to 77.96 will be tested. Unable to hold 64.24 to 68.99 on the downside. Overall on CVAC, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point's able to hold. REPX 30.84 pivot, unable to hold, room towards 27.87 to the 24.64 level. Able to hold, look for a pushback to 33.31 to 36.09. And REPX going to be leaning bearish as well, looking for continuation lower. VTNR and OCUP. VTNR 14.15 pivot, levels unable to hold 11.21 and 9.33 will be tested. Able to hold, look for a pushback to 15.52 to 16.98 on the upside. Overall on VTNR, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if that pivot point can hold, looking for continuation higher. OCUP pivot to the downside today, or sorry, upside today, 635 levels able to hold, room towards 798 to 853. Unable to hold 523 to 442 will be tested. Overall on OCUP, going to be looking for a little bit of a push out the gate. And I do think we'll see some topping and a pullback on that. So that is VTNR, that's OCUP. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. Market, what's going on here? SPY is pulling back a little bit. Let's do this. All right, that's going to take this out as I usually do. SPY 247, sorry, not 247, 427.41. Pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. Room for continuation higher into the 427.95 resistance. Breaks. We see the 428.73 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 426.65 support. Breaks. We see the 425.92 level tested. Meaning bullish neutral. So I'm looking for a reclaim of the pivot this morning and then a push higher. Was extended to the upside to fill that gap extension this morning in the pre-market. So I'm thinking that's going to be able to give us some support intraday for continuation higher. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. Pivot to the upside today, and a lot of the FANG looks good as well. So I think that's a positive. But 135.87 pivot, levels able to hold. They got room towards 137.53. That level breaks. Sorry, that level's the pivot's unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 134.57 on the downside. Overall on Apple going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon, guys, pivot to the upside today is going to be the I'm going to zoom out here, 34.56 level, essentially. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 34.84 to 35.14. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback on Amazon into the 34.32 on the downside. Overall on Amazon, going to be leaning bullish. It is flagging on the daily. So we'll be looking for continuation higher today. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the upside is going to be that 530.48 levels able to hold. 537.30 to 541.40 will be tested. Unable to hold 521.74 on the downside. Overall on Netflix, leaning bullish. Looking for a continuation push higher today. Facebook pivot upside is going to be the 350.49 levels able to hold. They got room towards 354.89 to 358.13. Unable to hold 346.91 on the downside will be tested. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Google. Pivot on the upside is going to be the 2452 level. Level's able to hold 2463. Will be tested. Unable to hold 2434. Will be tested on the downside. Overall leaning bullish neutral. Probably looking for a retest at the top of the range. Probably will stay within the range though. Overall today, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the VIX before I do Qs. VIX, guys, pivot 1659. Levels able to hold 1754. Will be tested. Sorry, 1752. Unable to hold 1551 on the downside. If the pivot's able to hold, I do think we'll probably retest the 50 MA on the upside on the VIX. So keep that in mind, guys. Let's take a look at the QQQs. QQQs, pivot to the upside today. 355.35 levels able to hold. We got room towards 357.02. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback to 353.86 on the downside. Overall on the Qs, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a push higher if we can reclaim that pivot point. And then last but not least, guys, IWM, which was looking a little bit heavy today. Pivot to the downside is the 229.41 levels unable to hold. 227.92 to 226.42 will be tested. Able to hold 230.33 to 232.39 on the upside. Overall in the IWM, leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. If you have any questions, you can feel free to go to SpartanTrading.com. Otherwise, thanks for watching this morning.